はじめまして、ギタリスト、作編曲家の北川翔也と申します。バンドにはDEZOLVE というインストゥルメンタルバンドに所属しております。DEZOLVE は2014年に、結成されて、まあ、その活動9年ぐらいですかね。で、今まで、6枚のアルバムを、出しております。最新作が、6枚目のCoMOVEというアルバムです。するかな、これですね。これが、今年の2月に、キングレコードよりリリースされております。
Awesome. Well, congrats on the new album release.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
DEZOLVE の、音楽の方向性としては、インストゥルメンタルバンドということで、そうですね。よくフュージョンっていうふうにカテゴライズされるんですけど、割と、いろんなジャンルを、独自に、それこそ融合していって、オリジナリティあふれるサウンドを、今後も出していけたらなと思っているような、インストゥルメンタルバンドです。はい、
Yeah, I can hear it. Definitely hear it in the playing.
自分はフリーランスのギタリスト、作編曲家として活動しておりまして、ギターの方はジャズフュージョンのみならず、ロックやポップスなどのサポートミュージシャンとしても活動しております。で、作編曲家としては、ゲーム音楽とかドラマの劇版、CM 音楽とかなどの商業音楽よりの制作の仕事をしております。
Very cool. Very cool.
Okay.
のベーシストの金子と申します。1998年の11月2日生まれで、今24歳なんですけど、中学2年生だから14歳ぐらいから、ベースを始めて、18ぐらいから、日本のポップカルチャーとか、それこそさっき北川さんがおっしゃってたゲーム音楽とか、BGM とか、そういう、いろんなシーンの、バックのベースを弾く、サポートミュージシャンっていうお仕事を、今現在も活動しています。
It's awesome.
次、DEZOLVE の、じゃあ、僕のサポートミュージシャンのお仕事の中で、今所属している DEZOLVE のバンドのドラムの山本直樹さんと出会いまして、そこから、DEZOLVE のサポートベーシストとして、だいたい1年から1年半ぐらい、サポートさせていただいた後、去年の11月から、DEZOLVE に加入させていただきました。
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Glad you joined those boys.
もちろん、入れてよかった。
CD が、金子君が入って初のアルバムですね。
That's great. Congratulations. First
おめでとう
album
ござい
out
ます。
with them. Well, hey, I'm Adam Rafowitz. I've been playing guitar. I'm 31 now, and I have been playing guitar since I was 7 years old. In one way, shape, or form. I have always been into like funk and jazz fusion. My dad's a keyboardist, so I grew up kind of playing with him a bit and playing Herbie Hancock and stuff like that. I didn't get into metal until I was at Berkeley. And I was part of a band called Sound Struggle. Joe actually played the bass in that band. That was probably in, gosh, what year was that? 2014?
2013-ish.
2013,
14,
2014. Up until what, 2015? It was a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's kind of how Joe and I got playing together. Joey, our keyboardist, played keyboards in that band as well. After Berkeley, I was going to come out with an EP, or I was going to work on one. Joey was going to work on one. We decided, let's just, get these guys we know and make a band with music we all like and make music that we want to make unhindered. So that's kind of how it began. we formed in late 2016. We kind of were in talks to form. First album came out in 2017. We were really happy with how things are going, and it's just been going since then. We've had some great opportunities to tour with some of our favorite bands. We have 3 full-length albums at this point. Most recent was Final Pitch, released on July 28th. We have an EP as well called Story 1. We're looking forward to writing more music and touring more, playing in Tokyo on September 18th. And that's kind of a crash course in Arch Echo. I can let Joe take over from here if I missed anything. Oh yeah? We'd love to see you live too, you know. If I'm available, I will definitely come check you out.
Yeah, same.
マジか。
ぜひぜひ。
緊張する。
So I didn't start playing music till I was around 12. At the time, I started really like my timeline through music was really straightforward. I started with classic rock. Rush became my gateway into progressive stuff, and then sort of got into grunge after that with Nirvana and the Foo Fighters. And after that, I started discovering Dream Theater. I had a friend show me Dream Theater because they knew I was super into Rush. They're you gotta check this out. And for a good while, they were the main progressive metal band. I feel like you have a lot of them now, a lot of especially instrumental bands. But before Animals as Leaders and Periphery at the scene, it was got Dream Theater, and then Symphony X, Iron Maiden, if you count them, stuff like that. But yeah, so I got into progressive rock at a pretty early on into my playing, and I think that really helped to just make me a better player, because I would hear crazy Rush lines and I'd just be like, I want to learn that, and I would just sit down and try and figure it out by ear and stuff, and help me develop an ear, which is great and all that. So yeah, did that. Went to Berkeley. I started there in 2012. And again, I wanted to go there because I was that's the school Dream Theater went to. Got to do that, right? So went there. Obviously, that was a great time, and I met a bunch of the guys in Arch Echo there. We didn't actually start while we played together with Sound Struggle while we were there. We never wrote together too much outside of that. But once we all graduated, like Adam mentioned, he was going to write an EP, and then Joey, our keyboardist, was going to write an EP. And at the same time, I was writing an EP as well. But the way Joey and Adam worked, they wanted to sort of produce each other and help each other make better choices in the writing process. And it ended up just being way more collaborative than either of them thought it would be. So what was going to be the Adam EP and the Joey EP just became the first Arch Echo album, where they really just fleshed out some ideas, and they're actually, this is just better as a team. So that's sort of how we got started there. And we dropped the first album in 2017 and didn't know if anyone would listen to it. And to our surprise, people really dug it. So sort of just been trucking on ever since. So there's definitely a second factor there. Dream Theater was a big reason I was looking at the school, but also Berkeley was the only college that I knew of at the time that would allow me to audition on electric bass instead of upright, or to play jazz or classical. They would actually let me audition on electric and play modern music, which is what I play, where every other school, I lived in Florida at the time, and a lot of Florida music schools would be okay, you can audition, but it has to be upright bass. And if you play jazz, you get a limited selection of majors you can choose from. So it was really surprisingly limited, but Berkeley was just yeah, you can play Red Hot Chili Peppers as your audition. We don't care. So that's what I did. And, you know, it worked out there. But obviously, very cool to be there. The instructors are just, you know, top of their game, like some really great, talented people instructing you there. And you just sort of meet a bunch of people and you never really know who's going to do what. But, you know, that like everyone's like a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds. And it's, you know, just a concentration of some of the best musicians that are around the world. And they're just like in this one building, like eating in the same cafeteria and stuff. So it's definitely very cool in that regard. And I forgot to mention earlier, but I think both of you said that you're involved either in like writing for games and television or like playing bass on like game scores and stuff like that. And what I ended up studying at Berkeley, I was originally going to do music education. I eventually went for film scoring because I was like really into, you know, film scores and even video game scores. I feel like was a big part of my music DNA. Even before I started playing music, there was something about the scores in like the old games I would play, like early 2000s Legend of Zelda stuff, like that were just ingrained in my head. So there's an aspect of my music that's like, that's the DNA there, is that early video game stuff. And I wanted to learn more of like music production and stuff like that. So studied film scoring there. And I've been doing, also doing like writing TV music since then as well for like libraries and stuff like that. So.
僕も昔実はそのバークリー音大の進学を考えてた時期があって、だったんですけど、すでにちょっと日本でお仕事があったりとか、なんかお金の問題とかで行くのをまた、やめたんですけど、すごい、アーチエコーのジョーからその直接バークリーの話を聞けて、まずすごい嬉しいなって思ったのと、なんか、周りの生徒たちと、こう、どういう、こう、なんだろう、セッションとか、そういうのがこう日常的に行われてて、もうそこに入りなよ、みたいなもう感じなのか、なんかこう、どういう感じで、周りの生徒とその音楽、こう、なんだろう、一緒に喋る機会、一緒に音楽をする機会っていうのはもう頻繁に生まれるものなのか、結構、そのもう、コミュニティができてて、なんかこう、バンドみたいに決まってるのか、なんかどういうこう感じで、なんだろう、他の生徒と一緒に音を出す機会がどういう風な形であるのかなっていうのをちょっと気になって聞きたいんですけど。
What I experienced, it was just a bit of both. You know, there were some people that would feel that chemistry and decide to like form a band in their first semester. And there was others like me who would, you know, just float around and go to jams with anyone I could. Like, oh, we're playing jazz fusion here? Cool. We're playing like rock and metal? Like, yeah, sign me up. You know, I just want to play with other people and see what goes on. Like improvising's always been a fun thing for me. So especially when there's a situation where it's just like, here's like this loose chord progression or something. And like, you know, the drummer's going to make a groove and I'm going to follow along and he's going to change the groove and I'm going to change it up with that. And like, to have a whole room of people doing stuff like that is a lot of fun. So definitely stuff like that. And I remember early on, I joined like the metal club that they had just to meet some more people that were into metal because it's kind of like big on the jazz side of things, both in like the curriculum and a lot of the students that do go there are just like super good at jazz, but not necessarily everyone's interested in metal and stuff like that. So I joined that club, met a few people there too that were interested in playing similar music. So I was just trying to make connections and, you know, record like an original bass part for someone if they wanted it. And yeah, the technology's just gotten so good in the last few years too. Like this is all 10 years ago, but there's probably so much more you can do now.
ありがとうございます。
Yeah, and I will say one thing, just from my experience there as well. All the friends you make and all the people you meet are musicians who play a variety of styles. It's like Joe was saying, you wouldn't have to audition playing classical or just like bebop. You know, I played like a jazz fusion version of a BB King song. And then just the people you meet are into such a variety of styles, you gravitate towards common interests and you inevitably play together. And you experiment, try new things. Like when I started playing metal, I was just a funk player, and my neighbor in the dorms, Cameron, who Joe knows well, was like, hey, let's make a funk metal band. And I'd never played metal in my life. And I was like, sure, why not? That sounds like fun. And here I am playing fusion metal all these years later. So yeah, just the variety of musical, I guess, affinities at Berklee, and just the opportunities there to play really any style that you want on a pretty high level was very enlightening for me.
ありがとうございます。
I tell my my young students' parents that I play rock music, but I would say heavy fusion, progressive fusion, or just progressive. I mean, we really have a lot of influences that come together, you know, ranging from Dream Theater to the Mars Volta to Return to Forever. So we try to blend that the best we can. Instrumental progressive fusion. I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I call it just progressive metal. I feel like that's simplest. There is fusion going on, and that the harmony definitely takes more influence from the fusion, but I feel like the skeleton of a song is always like, it's a metal song but we're throwing fusion chords or progressions in and stuff like that. So to me it feels more sprinkled in, but that's just my perception of it, I guess. Could be way too jazzy for someone else.
I guess this newest album isn't as jazzy. You know, in the past we have some more jazzy songs, but yeah, it's sprinkled in angrily on this most recent album. You know what I'm saying? No. Yeah, I mean, I think progressive metal, instrumentally especially, and fusion instrumentally, at least like modern fusion, have a lot of overlap. The energy is definitely very metal, but it's like Joe said, a lot of the harmony and a lot of the improvisation is fusion influenced. So I think there's something there for both audiences. But yeah, depending on the band we're supporting, we might get more metal fans, you know, especially when we're supporting like Periphery. We're going to get more metal fans coming to the show seeing us. But if we're headlining, we might get some more fusion fans, but of course, metal fans too. So yeah, it's certainly a blend. I think there's something for both audiences there.
I think we just got to do the Snarky Puppy tour, get the fusion people in there.
Yeah, we'd have to adjust our set a bit for that, possibly. But
I was just thinking, like, with this conversation, like, I feel like we could do a song that was more fusion, like take most of the metal out of it, like, and just write a sick fusion song. I think that'd be a fun thing that we haven't really tried to do consciously, but I think it'd be cool.
I feel like a lot of the stuff I write is more fusiony, and then we all come together and it just becomes more metal because we want that energy up.
Adam Bentley will just be like, I'm not playing this.
Yeah. Or no, it'll be like, here, I laid down this sick backing track and it's awesome. Now it's like a metal fusion song.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's got his own style.
Yeah. But, you know, we think of how songs come across live as well. You know, when we're demoing out a song, it's like, okay, we're on stage. We want this to project energy and be super lively. And I think a lot of the metal sound is just fun for us and the audience.
作曲とかの話されてて、で、インタビューとか拝見して、メンバー全員で曲を作るっていうのを、ね、なんかクレジットとか見たら、全員の名前がやっぱ全曲書いてあって、まずそこは正しいのかどうかちょっと聞きたいんですけど、まあ、曲によってもしかしたら5人のうち3人だけとかあるかもしれないですけど、基本メンバー全員で曲を作るスタンスなのかどうかをちょっと聞いてみたいです。
I'd say it varies song by song and album by album, but Joey Izzo is doing most of the production. So if we have to get on Skype or Zoom or, an app like that, then it'll usually be at least two of us, oftentimes three, starting with a riff that somebody already has. And then we go from there. It could be as simple as a melody. We could start from there, and then we produce around that. It could be a riff. It could even be a drum beat. Like we have a section in a song called Strut that Richie, our drummer, sent Joey and I this 15/8 part. And we're like, what do we do with it? And, we started with the harmony, came up with the tappy guitar part that was possible, because if Joey had written it, I probably wouldn't be possible and I would die. But, and then we have songs that, Joe would send a riff or a melody or a beat, and we go from there. It really does vary, but we do have to make do with all being in different places. So it either happens over Zoom. It could be a writing trip, with one or two of us traveling to another person and just hunkering down for a couple of weeks and banging out a couple of tunes. It kind of does vary. I don't know. What did I miss, Joe?
That's pretty much it. The writing process, it definitely varies. We all sort of have our own contributions toward the final result, but in general, Joey is usually taking the producer role, and he really likes that, and I don't think he'd have it any other way. Like he likes to be in that position of, like the objective voice there, helping guide ideas and stuff. So most things are either someone on their own made a riff and like uploaded it, or someone is in the room with Joey and they're working on an idea together. And that's how most things start. And then like, for example, things like Battlestar Nostalgica was, I think, the first song that we ended up writing for this album. And it started with Adam visiting Joey in New York, and they come up with the ideas. They'd send it in our chat and see what we think. And I'd send it back like, yeah, throw this bass fill in there. This will be fun. And then like, just stuff like that. We continue collaborating until we have a final product that we're all pretty happy with.
今上がったバトルスターノスタルジカっていう曲YouTube で聴いてめちゃめちゃ好きで、これこそそのリズムとかはすごいプログレッシブメタルのとかそういう要素があるんですけど、上に乗っかってるものは結構ジャズフュージョンの文脈の、メロディーとかハーモナイズとかがあって、なんかすごいこういうのってそのメンバーの中でリズムはこの人がやっぱベースドラムのリズム隊が作って、上のハーモニーとかはギターとかキーボードで作っていくみたいな感じなんですかね。なんかディゾルブって一曲一曲その作曲が全部デモみたいなのを仕上げちゃって、それをなんか提出してで演奏してもらうみたいな形なんです。で、なんかこういう難しいフュージョンとかすごい考えるべき要素がいっぱいあるような曲はなんか一人で作った方がやりやすいなとか思っちゃってるんですけど、なんかそこのなんか考え方の違いとかがあれば聞きたいですね。
I think that our process probably isn't faster. It's just out of necessity, because we none of us live in like the same place. For a while, three of us lived in Nashville, with like Adam Rafowitz living, in Minnesota, and Joey living in New York. So, and now two people live in Nashville. I'm in California. So we're all just sort of spread out all over the country, which means like, it would be really cool to put more ideas together, like in a room, the five of us together. But it's just hasn't been a reality for us for the last few years. So we've just sort of made it work with, having at least two to three people maybe together, hashing something out, sending it online, stuff like that. But yeah, definitely would be cooler to have more in-person stuff going on.
スタジオとか一緒に入って音楽作ることはなくて、デモを一人で家で作曲家が一人で一曲完成させて、それを音源を送って、練習してもらってレコーディングに臨むみたいな感じなんですね、DEZOLVEが。
なんか、一人一人がもうほぼ完成してるよぐらいのデモをもらって、それをほぼ演奏するに近い、まあ多少あるんですけど、それに近いっていうのを言った方がいいかもしれない。
Yeah, I was going to say, like, as far as the demoing process, we often, we'll send things back and forth, lay down our parts, and then we'll, check them in with each other. Hey, what do you think of this melody? What do you think of this solo or this feel that I laid down? And, often Joey kind of handling a lot of the production. We do some workshopping, him and I, like, oh, in this solo, why don't you try a lick like this here instead? Or why don't you play this one note like this? So yeah, it's very collaborative as it is with you guys in DEZOLVE. Do you all live in the same city? Shoya and Takuma? You all in the same city?
もう同じ。アメリカのその広大な土地に比べれば全然同じみたいなもん。だから、同じぐらい。
もう同じ県内には住んでるんで、全然近い。今から会おうと思ったら、全然会えますよね、だって。ぐらいの距離です。
Good, I'm jealous.
Yeah, Sam.
じゃあ一緒に住んでる僕らこそ一緒にスタジオ入ってやるべきみたいな話になって。
確かに。
すごい遠くに住んでるのに、そう、協力してらっしゃるんですね。
Life gets in the way.
なんかこういうジャンルって、まあ言っちゃえば何でもあり、なんかまあインストで、まあフュージョンとかプログレッシブメタルって、まあフュージョンですか、フュージョンに近いかな。いろんなジャンルを混ぜるなんか余地があったりとか、楽器も、まあ、バンド楽器以外でも、まあシーケンスとか打ち込みとかかもしれないけど、そういう音をいっぱい入れられるし、例えばリズムのなんか複雑な新しいそのリズムのポリリズムだったりとか、なんかそういう、なんですかね、まあポップスとかロックに比べて結構可能性が無限大だから、制作するときに選択肢がいっぱいあるから、なんかどういうことを大切にしてその選んでいくのかなっていうこういう曲を作るとかこういうアルバムを作るっていう上でなんかその選択肢を狭めるっていう言い方はちょっとおかしいですけど、曲を作る上でその大切にしているなんかガイドラインとか、なんかここは死守したいみたいなことはあるのかなっていうのを聞いてみたいです。
Pass the headbang test is a big one. Can you bang your head to it in some way? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, Joe. What do you think?
Yeah, about the same. Like the neck test is a big one, and then I feel like we're pretty good on if something is too rhythmically or harmonically complex and it like doesn't have a purpose. I think we're good at like, having someone that says that could be like a little easier to understand there, or that's really cool. Let's iterate more on that. But yeah, it just comes to taste and what we feel is right for the song.
Yeah, that is a good point, Joe. We've definitely written stuff that's like cool to us, but then you step back and you're like, this is way overcomplicated. It's like up its own ass. But but yeah, it's about, does it make you feel good? Is it catchy?
Yeah, definitely. Like a big focus on this latest album was just having the melodies, be singable. I want someone to listen to one of the songs and after it, like have the melody stuck in their head, where on previous material, it's a little harder to do, I think, especially in like progressive metal, but just trying to bridge that gap between like, it can be technically complicated, but also can be like easily digested by the listener.
面白い。
結構作曲家ごとにまあ違うとは思うんですけど、まあメロディーを、やっぱりメロディーを覚えてほしいっていうのは、まあ僕はまあギタリストでメロディー楽器だから、そういう曲を作ろうっていうのは、やっぱ死守というと、まあね、難しいメロディーの曲もありますけど、なんか、この曲のここは今、これが伝えたいことなんだっていうのが分かるようにはしてますね。今はメロディーが主役なんだ。今はこのバックのこのリズムのこの面白さが主役なんだっていうのを、どこのセクションをとっても一番大事なことがしっかり伝わるようにしてますね。その伝わるような、まあ、楽器の主張度合いのバランスとか、構成とか。なんでまあ一曲通してこれはもうメロディーですっていう曲もあれば、これはリズムですっていう曲もあるし、曲のここ部分でなんか大切なものがしっかり前に出て、今は脇役だったら後ろに弾くっていう、そのなんか主張度合いみたいなのをすごい意識してるんで、まあでもすごい考え方としては近いかもしれないですね。そのリズムが大事って時はまあ乗れるってことになるし、メロディーが大事っていう時は、まあ、メロディーを忘れてもらわないようにするっていうので、結構、なんか考え方としては似てるのかなって思ってよかったですね。
Yeah, I can definitely hear that. And I like your blend of different tones as well. A lot of the single coil tones that really cut through the mix. And yeah, just the different blends of tones and melodies are really nice. It's very unique and refreshing sound you guys have.
Thank you very much.
No problem.